There's a reason commercials on TV are so relatable. Focus groups. They're gathering tons of regular, average Americans just like you and me, putting them in a room and talking about their worst fears, their biggest insecurities, what they're jealous about, what they're envious about, what their hopes and dreams are. And then they cobble all those things together. These commercials aren't random. They're not by happenstance where they're saying like, boy, your life sucks, doesn't it? They know your life sucks. They're banking on you being depressed. They're banking on you seeing that advertisement and going, wow, the guy in that commercial is me. I'm the guy in that commercial. I need an Audi. That's what they're banking on. They prey on our insecurities, on our jealousies, on our weaknesses, on our desires, and then they formulate these ad campaigns that resonate with us, that hit home. And that's one of the reasons that we live so far beyond our means, because we're putting all of our energy, all of our time, all of our focus is on keeping up with the Joneses. There's a commercial on TV where there's a backyard barbecue and the jealous neighbor is the star of the commercial and he's watching the like hot shot neighbor. Your neighbor has a swimming pool. Your neighbor has a nice car. Your neighbor. And then at the end of the commercial it goes, you like your neighbor. You just wish you had more money than your neighbor. And people are sitting there going, I feel that same way about my neighbor. They're nice, but they're rich, and I hate them for that. They're playing us. And I think one of the things when I talk about living below your means, one of the biggest comments that I get, especially on TikTok is, you know, if everyone was a minimalist, the economy would just cease to exist. Come on. First of all, not everyone who watches this message is gonna go, you know what, I'm gonna change the way that I live my life. There's gonna be plenty of people who go, fuck off, I want that Audi. It's gonna make me feel like hot shit rock and roll, even if it's fleeting, even if buying that expensive house and that expensive car and those expensive things prolongs my work career, right? While the guy who's in all the fancy cars and the big houses and he's maxing out his credit card every month to look cool and feel better, increase his sense of self, he's gonna have to be working longer to pay off all that stuff. Whereas the guy he's making fun of, driving in that same 1995 Honda Civic to work every day, is going to be retired a lot sooner because the guy in the Civic doesn't care. The guy in the Civic watches those commercials on TV and goes, I relate to none of this. Maybe that's because he's in therapy. Maybe that's because he's just a more confident person. He doesn't need cars and fancy things to impress people. He just doesn't need to buy things to impress other people. I mean, you all know that whole like, you know, why are we buying stuff to impress people we don't even like thing? I don't know if you've ever seen that meme or that comic or that cartoon of the various people observing different traffic situations, right? So there's the guy in the car and he sees like this luxury car drive by and he goes, man, I wish I had that car. And then it cuts to a guy in like a really shitty car and he's looking at like that medium priced car and he goes, wow, I wish I had a nicer car like that. And then it cuts to like the guy at the bus and the bus guy sees that shitty car drive by and he goes, man, I wish I had that shitty car. And then it cuts to a guy in a bike and he's sitting there going, I wish I just had a car. I wish I had money for a bus ticket. And then it cuts to a guy in his apartment and he's looking out the window and he's in a wheelchair and he goes, I wish I could go outside. It's all about perspective. We need to change the way we look at things. So instead of looking at it like, I wish I had more, to be more grateful of the things that you do have. That's one way to start living below your means and stop trying to feel like we're always playing catch up. Right, I gotta get the newest thing because that guy has. When I was a kid, my dream car was a Ford Mustang. I wanted a Ford Mustang convertible more than anything. And for my birthday, I think maybe I was like 14 years old. For my birthday, my mom called the Ford dealership and said, I'm not buying a car, but I want to rent one for the day, like a Mustang, just for my son. Can I rent this car from you? Can we do something? And he goes, I'm just gonna let you come in and take it out for an all-day test drive. I'm not gonna charge you. So my mom explains to me, she's like, don't get your hopes up too much. This is just a one-day thing. So I'm like, all right, I'm excited already. And I'm like, what are we doing here? And the guy comes out and he's like, happy birthday. And he gives my mom the keys. And she's like, we've got this Mustang for the day. And I was like, what? So we're driving all over DC, put down the top. She's like, where do you want to go? And of course, because I'm a little fat kid, I was like, I want to go to McDonald's. I'm 35 and that's still where I want to eat for my birthday. We park at the McDonald's. We leave the Mustang there, the top down. I'm like looking at it through the window like, how cool are we? We're literally, like, we could have done anything. We could have gone anywhere. I just wanted to drive around the neighborhood to make people jealous, to, like, hopefully someone would see us in the Mustang and be like, whoa. And then we're sitting at a red light and I'm feeling like the king of the world. And a BMW M3, brand new, pulls up right next to us. And I'm like, oh, isn't this Mustang? And I look over and I see the BMW and I was immediately like, oh, that guy has a nicer car than us. And I felt so, like, bummed. Like, that whole day, in the split second of seeing a nicer car, I was immediately like, shit. And it goes back to that old comic, right? There's probably someone sitting there going like, wow, look at that Mustang, who's sitting at like a bus stop or whatever, going like, I wish I had a Mustang. Like, forget the BMW, I just wish I had a car. So it's all about how we look at things. But commercials, advertisements, they're preying on our insecurities. They want you to keep spending. It benefits them, not you. And this whole line of it hurting the economy by spending a little bit less, I really doubt it. I really doubt that everyone who watches this video is going to be like, that's it, I'm swearing off materialism forever. I'm never going to buy anything again. I'm going to follow this guy. I'm only going to wear black t-shirts. Really, this is all I have. And any of the other shirts that you see me in are my gym shirts. It's like a whole wardrobe full of these. You just go to Old Navy and you pick up 10 of them and that's it. That's my closet. Don't feed into this materialism. Don't feed into these advertisements. They're expecting you to want to fill a void with their product. That's what they're hoping happens. That's what they want you to do. They want you to feel bad about yourself. They're preying on your insecurities. They're preying on your weaknesses. They're preying on what makes you jealous and sad and envious. You look at the guy in the nicer car and you go, that should be me. And the reality is, that guy in the Civic who's going to the same office building as the guy in the Audi is going to be the one to retire sooner. And the guy with the Audi, who probably has mismanaged his money his whole life because he's been spending it to look cool and impress people, is going to be the one who's stuck at the office in his late 60s and 70s going, I'm drowning in debt and I got to pay off all these things and I wish I hadn't done it. I wish I hadn't done it. So the point to this video is to try to encourage you to live below your means as best as possible. Turn off the commercials, hit mute, ignore the advertisements. They're preying on you. They're trying to enrich themselves at your expense. And back to stock market and trading, since this is a stock market and investing and trading channel, instead of shopping at the companies, invest in those companies. Invest in the companies where you would spend. That's why I always say buy the stock, not the stuff.